Welcome to Spirit Call. I'm your host, Jeni, and this is the podcast where I share all about my experiences as a psychic medium. Find all of the information at my website, jeniduranis.com. But for now, enjoy the show. If you're just finding this podcast now, please go back and listen to episodes 22, 23, 29, 30, 31, 35, and 36. This is part 7 of the fraud follow-up. Okay, so I would like to give you all a timeline of events from July onwards up until today, September 17th, 2024. On July 8th, the photos of William were sent to me from the Basel PSI, and I released my podcast episode and the photos publicly, asking them to address this issue. To date, still no response from anyone in Basel about the photos. August 7th, right before the fraud left on his trip to Switzerland again, is when he put up the Facebook post that I read in the previous episode about how he is claiming that I have been stalking him and threatening him and creating a hate campaign against him. Then he arrives in Switzerland, August 13th, is when we have the footage from. I don't know what day he got there, but the 13th is the day that this footage was recorded of him in Seance. The following day, he did another seance in Bern, Switzerland, same location, in somebody's private seance room, so not connected to a public business. So, seance on the 14th. Then he continued on with his trip to the Basel PSI, August 15th, 17th, and 18th. I believe he was there doing seances and psychic surgeries. Then, on August 22nd, a video was sent to me that he had posted from the airplane, talking about how successful the trip to Switzerland was. And I'd like to play that for you here now.
Hey everyone, just a quick video, just say thank you to everyone in Switzerland who's come along last week or so. In Bern and Basel, it's been lovely seeing you all for all the seances. They've been very full on. Thanks for everyone coming for the healing, and thanks for giving me the feedback how you're all doing. A huge thank you to Brigitte as well as Basel the PSI for hosting me and arranging it. I'm going to be back now in October, back in Basel. And space is nearly gone. I think there's like 3 spaces left, so if you haven't booked yet and you want to get in, please do so now, as to avoid disappointment. Me and Inga, who didn't want to be on camera, are now heading to Dr. Hans Scheer up in Zurich, where we'll be meeting with Professor Eckhard Kluser and Dr. Bauder, where we've got a couple of days now of seance testings and experiments, which should be fun. Hopefully we'll be able to post about what we're doing and the results we're getting. Just again, thank you to everyone for your support for physical mediumship as a whole. And yeah, it's going from strength to strength. And I thought I'd just keep this quick as I'm trying out a new app to see how the streaming works. So I'll try and do some more streams. I'll try and answer some questions that we get. So one I'll talk about in the next video is I'll show you the setup that we actually use for the testing, so you can see how we do it. You can see how the room's secure, how there's nothing in it, things like that. I'll show you how I'm tied up, why I'm tied up in a particular way that I am, and why physical mediums are tied up that way. Just to kind of shed some light in your own development, and for those who may not have an understanding about physical. Cool. I think I've said enough for now. Thank you for watching this, and hopefully see you all soon. Thank you.
So as you can hear, it appears that all is well as he is on the plane leaving Basel. And the following day, August 23rd, is the day that we released the first clip of him faking the seance from August 13th. The following day, he appeared on social media again with another video that I will play for you here.
Hey all, I hope you are all doing well. Just a very quick post, and then I will follow up with this bit later on. So, some of you may have come across, there is a video that's just got out recently on YouTube of me apparently faking a seance, where I come out of the cabinet and you see me do some healing. Now, I was accused of similar things back in Banyan years ago, and as I've always kind of stood by that everyone was made aware of what was going on, and if we only had the audio, which has never been released, then it would back up. So again, a video has been posted, and what the person has chose to leave out is the audio. Thankfully, that seance was recorded, and we've gone to the part where, just before you see me come out of the cabinet, I'll play it here. If you need to, I can put the audio online afterwards, but just to give you a snapshot.
We may use the medium's form.
We may use the medium's form.
Das ganze Medium aus und arbeiten durch, wie wenn wir zum Beispiel eine Heilung gegeben haben, normale Privatheilung, dann ist dasselbe. Wir nehmen das Medium, um das Heilen zu machen.
And in that healing, we utilize the medium's form because it takes less energy on the one hand. And in that particular instance, we utilize medium's form because it takes less energy. And
und jetzt gerade haben sie auch seine Form genommen und das Team hat
there is an and. I haven't heard this all yet.
wie ein normaler Teil arbeitet.
It also allows us to explore what we can do with the energy and see if we can get past this, getting it out to the cabinet. It goes on about it gets us past to get out of the cabinet. So for those who weren't at the seance, you'll hear throughout the recording that spirits struggled that night. They struggled that night with the energy. They struggled taking the energy out of the cabinet, which they made aware, and again, which was not included in the video. Which, if someone wants transparency, as they call it, you would surely put where Spirit said, we're going to use the medium's form, is it okay? And everyone is aware and agreeing. Instead, they are presenting this video to, same as what Banyan did years ago, they set me up. They knew perfectly well what Spirit were doing. They were encouraging Spirit to do it, knowing how bad it would look on camera, and then leaving out the vital bit, which would clarify that I wasn't faking it. Now, anyone who's ever been to one of my healing seances will know that we'll say at the beginning that they may utilize my form. Anyone who comes to a normal seance will be told normally that they can use my form if they want to. And especially when they're struggling with energy, why wouldn't they use my form to do healing? If they're struggling to take the energy out. So I just wanted to go live just to clear that up. If you have seen the video, then hopefully now you get a bit more understanding of this hate campaign against physical mediumship, and how this has been purposely targeted at me for that. Now, some of you won't believe, and that's fine. I've never set out with my physical to try and prove anything. I'm here to demonstrate what my spirit team want to demonstrate and how they want to demonstrate it. So I'm not looking to change any opinions. But if you are wondering, is Gary at the cabinet? Is Gary faking it? There's the audio to show you that Spirit told people exactly what was going on. Everyone was fine with it. And if anything, the people recording were probably using that to their advantage to make it look really bad. So I hope that clarifies it. I will follow up with a bit more detail. And again, we have the whole audio, thankfully. We actually have the audio given to us this time because we recorded it ourselves. So I can give it if people need the full recording. What I won't do is I won't enter into hate speech on people who will just use whatever I say to try and twist it and destroy physical mediumship. If you see this video and you think, oh, yep, there's Gary being a fake, then absolutely, you're entitled to your own belief. But if you are more curious, then yes, my form was used in that seance, and they made that perfectly aware. And if you don't like that, then I can't help that either, because I can only do what Spirit want to do in a seance. Cool. Hope you all enjoyed. If anything, I'm also not glad that I've got to start this way, but I'm glad that anyone who wondered, was there audio Banyan? Is what he said there about the audio being true? Hopefully this gives a bit of evidence that the audio does set you free. Okay. I hope you all enjoyed. If not, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's on YouTube. You'll find it. I'm not going to bother trying to get it removed because I've got nothing to hide. And people will make what they want of that. But yeah, so sorry to trouble you. And hopefully we'll see some of you at seances. And we've had a very, very good testing week here with Eckhard. So hopefully we'll get to... Oh, yes. So hopefully we'll get to release that soon. Cool. Great day, evening. Enjoy.
Following his video on August 31st, his circle leader proceeded to post her accounts, or I guess what we might be led to consider is a seance report of the seance on August 13th, 2024, where she makes a number of claims and inconsistencies. And I could speak for hours just picking apart this one post on Facebook. But for now, I want to focus on the most important piece that stands out to me. I would like to address something that catches my attention in the seance report of August 13th, 2024, that we have the footage of. In her report, she states, "From my more than 300 seance experiences with this medium, I am aware that the spirit team can do these assessment touches and harmonizing of energies in at least 3 different ways. 1. Creating a column of ectoplasm in the middle of the room, and spirit personalities inspire the mass, and then they may touch many sitters throughout the room at the same time. Reason, safe environment, and experienced sitters present. 2. A spirit personality creates ectoplasmic rods and touches the sitters while working with their perception, so the sitters feel a hand touching them, but it is the ectoplasmic rod which actually creates the assessment touches around the room. Reason, some jumpy sitters who could harm the energy. Or 3. The spirit personality takes the entranced medium out of the cabinet as there is a disharmony with the sitter's energy, and it is not safe for the medium to have the ectoplasm in the room. Reason, sitters in the room whose intention is to harm the energy via different avenues, and or when the medium is not comfortable with some sitters and unconsciously blocks the energy being taken outside the cabinet." So this is referring to the very beginning of the seance, where we see the sitters being touched. He's out of the cabinet, walking around, switching their glasses, and tipping their chairs back, pretending to be a materialized spirit person. And we're supposed to believe that this is when spirit, at the very beginning of the seance, comes out to assess and harmonize the energy of the sitters, to find where the jumpy ones are, and to hopefully bring the group into harmony so that the rest of the seance can go well. I'm assuming that's what they're trying to say here, is like the purpose of assessing and harmonizing. But I think that the circle leader is attempting to educate the people reading this seance report that there's 3 different techniques that spirit will use to assess the energy, right? But when we compare it to the footage, we know he's out of the tent immediately. So on the one hand, this must signify that spirit knew ahead of time which technique to use, and because we see his body coming out, so wouldn't that mean spirit already knew it wasn't safe to use ectoplasm? Therefore, why is the spirit coming out to assess the energy of the sitters anyway? Because it seems that's already been done. But let's just entertain this explanation for a sec here. So if we're going to compare her report to the footage and continue to believe, and we're going to believe that everyone was asked ahead of time if it's okay that spirit uses the medium's form in this seance, we might assume that Spirit had to choose option number 3, which again I will read here is, the Spirit personality takes the entranced medium out of the cabinet as there is disharmony with the sitter's energy and it is not safe for the medium to have the ectoplasm in the room, right? Because we're seeing him walking around in the room. But let's just say for a moment that that's true, that it wasn't safe for there to be ectoplasm in the room because there were sitters that had intent to harm the medium. If assessing the sitters to find the jumpy ones were necessary, because Spirit didn't know ahead of time who was coming, even though they apparently do know which option to choose ahead of time, because they decide based on the jumpy sitters being present, why wasn't the attempt to harmonize the energy successful? Why didn't Jimmy announce right from the beginning that there were sitters in the room with the intent to harm? Especially when she notified him she saw a white light and he allowed it to remain. But here is what really grabs my attention in this seance report, where she says, still at times, sitters report touches different parts of the room at the same time. Wait a second. So according to the 3 options given above, she leads the reader to believe, along with their claims of using his form and combined with the footage, of course we know he's faking it, but play along with me here for a sec. It is clear she is claiming they chose option number 3. It is apparently only in option number 1, which is the best case scenario, that Spirit will, creating a column of ectoplasm in the middle of the room, and Spirit personalities inspire the mass, and then they touch many sitters throughout the room at the same time, because it's a safe environment and there are experienced sitters present. How can she be claiming that many sitters were touched in different parts of the room, while also claiming that 3 out of the 15 sitters were such a hindrance to the energy that Spirit had to choose option number 3 to protect the medium, and therefore no ectoplasm was used to assess and harmonize the sitters at all? Either it was safe or it wasn't. So think about that. She's claiming it was a safe seance. She's claiming that they used option number 1 because it was a safe enough seance to have enough ectoplasm in the room that multiple sitters would feel touches at the same time in different parts of the room. Only in option 1 is that a possibility, according to this seance report. And I would like to point out that that's not even true. That multiple sitters were not touched from different sides of the room at the same time, because we have the footage of him walking around one by one, touching people. And so it almost seems as if this isn't a seance report at all. To me, it seems like an opportunity to make claims that are inconsistent with what actually happened in the seance, as a way to educate people about what happens in seances and therefore groom the sitters before they even come. No, the sitters with the camera are not responsible for affecting his subconscious mind or the ability for Spirit to materialize. He's a fake, and his ego would not let him cancel his trip to Switzerland, despite the photos of William being released just 1 month earlier. He had to sit anyway. Maybe he hoped he would be filmed so he could use the footage to create his new story. That a world-renowned physical medium walks around the room in the dark, pretending to be a spirit, and that is supposed to be accepted as normal. Spirit was not present, just like they were not in control in 2016 when he was caught on film the first time. Along with many other inconsistencies in her seance report, the circle leader is essentially grooming people. She plants seeds of knowledge for the future. Yet these seeds were planted first by the fraud in disguise as Jimmy, an Irish spirit guide that we're not allowed to know about because he still has living relatives today. It is important when thinking about going to a seance to research and read things like this with a discerning eye. In the past, I would have skimmed over it and believed it all because I simply wanted to. Now, from this angle, it's pretty easy to see the manipulation and grooming of the sitters. I will link a copy of this seance report in the show notes for you to read. Then on September 1st, his circle leader put another post up on her Facebook page where she states, "After writing the last report, as usual, from the recording, I have been made aware that the reason why the fraud was so ill on awakening and I was sick for 3 days was that some one of the people I trusted as sitters had smuggled in a camera and recorder which played havoc with the energy and our health. Why could they not just ask the questions to get an explanation when there was so much opportunity offered to ask? Throughout the night, the spirit team explained the different ways as to how they create phenomena and also use the medium for phenomena. For some mediums, their spirit team work only within the medium's extended energy grid, and the spirit team use the sitters only as batteries for energy, but not as being part of the grid. This is not the case for his spirit team, and some of the current and recently retired physical mediums, as well as all mediums, are different and have different requirements for their spirit teams. His and other spirit teams use the sitters also as energy conduits to provide the energy and also part of the grid, the energetic space, in which the phenomena is happening. This now ties the medium into the grid with all the sitters, hence the harmony is needed to create the phenomena. If there is a disturbance within the circle, sitters' intentions, or a blockage in the medium's energy due to uneasiness, for example, the spirit team uses sitters' energy and also mirrors the medium's energy with a sitter to overcome this. That is also why some sitters may feel tired after a seance. Nowhere is stipulated how a spirit team can work, or whether they can or can't use an entranced medium as a conduit for what they want to achieve when they struggle with the energy, due to interference or dangerous sitters who wish to harm the medium via ectoplasm in the room. Some mediums of the past and current have been accused of misconduct because their spirit team used the entranced medium and sitters just don't understand the process and their own interference with the energy, which makes this way of working necessary. In other words, the spirit team have full control, but use the medium's form to present the phenomena. Once again, ? Not enough energy provided, dangerous sitters, apprehension in the medium's mind because of certain sitters, abuse of unauthorized technology, i.e. camera, and much more can be the reason and affect the energy available. I have sat in more than 450 physical seances over the last 15 years, with more than 20 known physical mediums, and more than 300 with this medium. And through those many personal experiences, I have gained knowledge and education from all of the various discussions with spirit friends about how they work with their individual mediums and the many different ways the same phenomena can be achieved. Therefore, I stand in my truth via my personal experiences. So, it's only 8 days later that she claims to have awareness of why apparently the fraud and herself were sick, I guess, the next day. And it's because of the camera in the room. and the sitters with the intent to harm him. And then there's this whole gobbledygook explanation about how the sitter's energy is used and how, you know, I mean, you can see how twisted and how many inconsistencies there are now at this point that it's kind of like, why even bother continue reading this stuff? But I've stuck with it because people need to learn to discern and to read and use their critical mind when they read these posts. And they're not. In fact, let's look at some of the comments. There's people saying that they should sue the person who got the footage. She comments and says the interesting thing is that they create the problem with the energy in the first place and then complain that they don't like the outcome and how the spirit team gets around it. Can't win. This person here, that's disappointing to hear of this deception, meaning the deception of the people who came in with the camera, not the deception of the fraudulent person claiming to be a medium. How about this person that says, so sorry this happened to you all. I don't understand how someone could be so single-minded that they would risk the health of everyone there, as well as those connected to them. I hope you're all getting better and that the after effects of this deception hasn't caused any damage to your own well-being and spirit. But if we go back to our timeline of events here, that he was filmed on August 13th, apparently the next day woke up not feeling too well, along with his circle leader, apparently made comments in private that he almost had a heart attack after that seance. Yet the next evening, August 14th, he was able to conduct another seance and then move on to Basel to do more psychic surgeries and seances, hop on the plane on August 22nd, and brag about how good of a time he had in Switzerland. So I'm going to come back and address those statements after this interview that is long awaited with Arthur, who was actually present in the seance that we have the footage from August 13th in Bern, Switzerland. Arthur Rocha is a federally certified complementary therapist, hypnosis therapist, meditation leader, and also a seasoned magician and mentalist. From an early age, Arthur was captivated by methods of relaxation and consciousness expansion, such as autogenic training and meditation. This curiosity eventually extended to physical practices like Qigong, martial arts, as well as holistic healing methods and body therapies. Additionally, Arthur spent 6 years participating in development circles for sensitivity and mediumship. Alongside his therapeutic work, Arthur discovered a passion for magic and mentalism and the themes of the paranormal, beginning his public performances at the age of 15 and later turning his art into a profession. With over 30 years of experience as a magician, Arthur has performed in Switzerland, England, France, Germany, and Austria, continually captivating audiences with his innovative magical feats. As an advisor, he works for the Magic Lab, Mind, Attention, and General Illusory Cognition, University of Plymouth, UK. He currently runs a therapy practice and lives with his family in Switzerland. I will link his links in the show notes, but please welcome Arthur Rocha. Did you watch the video of him? Well, here, let's just start. Okay?
Yep.
So that we're not wasting any time. So thank you so much, Arthur, for being here I'm really excited to talk to you. This has been a long time coming, and it's time we get right into it because you were there August 13th,
I
2024
was.
in
Hello,
Bern,
Jenny.
Yeah. So, Arthur, tell us a little bit about you. I know you have an interesting background. What brought you to seances? Tell us about your skills. Share with us who you are.
Yes, I'm Arthur Rocha from Switzerland. I'm a magician and mentalist and also a complementary therapist. I do craniosacral therapy and hypnosis therapy. And in my younger years, I was also sitting many years in a circle for mediumship development, sensitivity development. And that's where I came across also with my first physical seances and, of course, table tilting and all these phenomena, which, yeah, stay with me until today. Yeah, that's
Awesome.
a short of it.
Yeah. So, are you a medium? Do you,
No, I don't really work anymore as a medium. I at the beginning I worked some time as a medium, but not for long. But I try to incorporate, of course, the sensitivity and the visionary parts into my craniosacral work. But I have to admit I lost some of it because my focus is not so much more on it. And yeah, but I still think, and I'm sure of course, there are more dimensions, and there's more than just matter. And yeah, these are all fascinating subjects. But as a magician and mentalist, I just became also very skeptical about many things. So one part of me is like pretty open. I believe everything is possible, and on the other side, I'm pretty skeptical and analytical. So I have both sides in me, and I like both sides, and they're quite important for me.
mm-hmm. Well, I can totally relate to that because as a medium, I think you have to be skeptical, even of your own self. And that's why it's so important that we are bringing through evidence, right? I mean, if
Sure.
there's no evidence of spirit of our loved ones coming through, then how can we believe it? And
Yeah.
so, yeah. So tell me about your work as a magician and mentalist, and what's the difference? Do you consider those two different things? Tell me about that.
Yeah, actually, it's the same base. The base is always magic and conjuring. Mentalists, they just play more of the themes of telepathy, of the paranormal, of ESP, of hypnosis, of suggestion, sometimes seances as well. So all these paranormal themes are just themes. They are the story, the background story, the themes, the drama, sometimes the misdirection, but the base is always magic and illusion and yeah, lies, But yeah, we mentalists are sometimes a little bit difficult. Not all mentalists are open, that they are actually just using tricks. But every mentalist has some kind of giving some kind of explanation to the public, like, yeah, we're using maybe psychology, tricks, illusion, showmanships, and whatever to achieve the illusion of the sixth sense. But normally, mentalists don't use any sensitivity, don't use the sixth sense, or don't use mediumship to achieve, or paranormal things to achieve these things. But sometimes we use at the start, we use maybe a suggestion, maybe intuition. And if it doesn't work out, we have a plan B and a plan C. And the plan B might be a pretty simple trick. And normally people can't really know where the path is going in the show, and they can't really know if yeah, it's really intuition or just a simple trick, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or a
So,
very clever trick. So we play
okay.
with all the belief systems also of the people. Also, we play with belief systems of hypnosis. That's why hypnotherapists don't like mentalists and show hypnosis, because we play a little bit with some biases about hypnosis, which mostly aren't true. Yeah.
Okay. So I absolutely love that you're a mentalist and magician, and you are one of the people responsible for getting this footage because for 5 months, I've been talking about how these seances with this individual are for fraud. I mean, I know with my whole being that from the beginning, it's all been fake. But for
Yeah.
and so naturally, I've been relating it to like a shitty magic show where he can't even have the light on to do his tricks. And so for you to have this background, but also be open to mediumship, spirit, the afterlife, I just think you are
Yes.
the perfect person. And um so yeah, and I understand you've been to quite a few seances with other physical mediums too. So you kind of knew what to expect, what you were going into. Was this your first time sitting with this person when the
Yes, this was the first time. Of course, I
Okay.
saw the video from 2000, I think 16, the first video in infrared light. So I was, of course, a little bit biased, and I knew he, I knew what he can do, and that he can walk around and will walk around, maybe. So of course, I went a little bit biased, I have to admit, because I already thought and knew also from this Swiss mother who told you as well the thing with the mask, you know, the what's it called,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the William case. So I mean, this is such a clear circumstantial evidence that he used this mask from Amazon, and that yeah, he's a fraudulent medium. So I was of course a little bit biased, and not totally open, but always one part tries to be open and is most of the time open, yeah, when I
Hmm.
see such a seance. But this was the first seance, yes,
Okay.
with this individual.
Okay. And so I understand there were three of you who knew that somebody was coming in with a camera.
Yes.
Okay. And there
So
were,
actually, we had two cameras.
okay. So somebody approached you, is that right? To ask you to come and help out
Yes.
with the camera. Okay. And there were 15 sitters total?
Yeah, around that.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
3 out of 15 were aware that there were two cameras in the room. And I understand that only one camera was used in the end.
That's right.
Okay.
I had problems with my camera, and there was actually a light flickering. Yes. So somebody, uh, what's her name? The friend of the medium. Yeah, whatever. The friend who came with the medium there,
The
she
circles.
saw there was a light
Mm-hmm.
flickering, and she made a comment. So I had to put the camera away. But fortunately, we had the other camera, and I mean, that was the plan. Hopefully, one camera will work. Hopefully, we will get one movie But the medium was, of course, alert then. But
Okay.
still, he did his show, but he was alert. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because when you watch the footage, you can see that right from the beginning of the seance, everyone is singing, he's in the tent, and everyone is anticipating the beginning of the seance. And then this is the first clip that was released, which is where you see him right from the beginning of the seance, coming out of the tent, walking around, touching people, tipping someone's chair back, touching people on the head, switching glasses between sitters. I understand that he took
Yes.
eyeglasses off of one person and switched them with another person, and then
Yes.
walked over to the other side of the room, tipped another chair back. And so it was after this point that his circle leader, when he went back in the tent, it's after that point that she notified him that she saw a flickering light. So I'm to understand that's when you stopped using your camera, right? He comes
Yes.
out, he does all this stuff, he goes back in, and then you hear her say on the audio, "Jimmy, I saw a white light."
Yes.
So it's
So actually, she was actually um, telling before. She was asking all of us before he went out. She was asking, "Was there not a light? Who was it? Was there?" But she wasn't asking Jimmy, but she made a comment to all the sitters before he went out. Actually, yes. But
okay.
afterwards, she asked Jimmy about the light. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so she did. See, this is what's hard because um, I have to rely on the translation of the video because it's not in English for me, which is
Yes.
great because you do speak the language. So you're saying that she did notice the light. He came out, did all of those tricks in the dark, went
Yes.
back in, and then she said, "Jimmy, I saw a light."
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if he was alarmed before. Maybe this flew by him. I don't know.
I think it did
But
because why would he come out and do all that? I mean, if he knew there was a camera in the room, I can't imagine why he would think people would be impressed by him slinking around with his sleeves rolled up,
yes.
um, smirking and calculating his next move, feeling around in the dark. I mean, that's what we
Yes.
see on the footage.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, okay. So have you seen the video that he put up on his Facebook after
Yes.
the first clip was released?
Yes.
Okay. So in that video, you can hear he speaks about having the audio from this seance and claiming that before the seance began, they asked everyone in, like, all of the sitters, if they were okay, if need be, that if the energy's too low, that they might use his body, or as he puts it, his form, to do the phenomena or the healings. Did they ask that question before the seance began?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay. And before he came out of the cabinet or the tent the first time, did Jimmy or the circle leader or anyone announce, "We are now going to take the medium out of the tent"?
No.
Okay. So this is his explanation. What do you think of that? What do you think of, all of this footage comes out. Here he is in the dark, doing everything that we know he's doing. And then to come out and say, "Oh, we told everyone. Everyone was okay with it, and we have the audio to prove it."
Yeah. So the audio he relates to, this came much later, when after the healing session, where somebody asked him how the spirit world does the phenomena. So, and one explanation was, yeah, sometimes we use the form of the medium, and matter to matter, he goes through the zip ties and walks around. If the energy is low, or I don't remember if they really said if the energy is low, then they're doing it, but they can do it. And that's the case today. So they said, today we did it like this, which is very, really clever, because that's what he did, So, yeah, what do I think? I think it's a good explanation. Maybe also because he was a little bit alarmed because of this light. So he had a good explanation. I think for me, it's just funny because how I remember the explanation 10 years ago or 8 years ago when he was filmed, before there was two other explanations. One was, well, bad spirits entered him because of the bad energy of the filmers in the seance room, or then there was another explanation, like the seance room is like Schrödinger's cabinet, or a quantum cabinet where some people witness real phenomena and other ones who are filming it are filming the fraud. So these are pretty different explanations, and he plays with these explanations, I think. Yeah. But for a believer, this is enough. If you really think he's the real thing, that's enough, if you're not thinking critically, that's enough. If you're thinking critically, it's pretty simple. You just walk around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. And that's what makes this almost, it's mind-boggling. It's really frustrating to try to convince a believer. And I've said from the beginning that that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to prevent future people from falling into this scam. So,
Yes.
so you're right. There's all these different explanations that he creates sort of on a, you know, when he needs to. This is what it comes down to is, oh, something came up. Okay, what's the new explanation? And from 2016, yes, I've heard that. Oh, there was evil spirits or negative, mischievous spirits. And then because the camera was in the room, it affected the energy. And so, of course, things didn't go as they usually would. And also, like you said, the explanation that there's tons of phenomena that the camera didn't pick up. And so this video is not accurate. And I'm sure that they're going to say all of the same things about this footage as well from 2024.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it really is interesting when you just take a moment and look at the storyline and literally just listen to what they're saying. All of the evidence is there that it's just lies, right? It's just a created storyline so that he can continue. And his circle leader is a part of that too. As much as I want to consider her a victim in this, it's getting really hard to see her as a victim too. So there's so many people involved with creating this story. So he's claiming that, and you're right, in the seance, there is a point much later where he is seen coming out of the tent again, because he goes in and out quite a few times. And the whole footage, I think, is about an hour and 45 minutes long. So he's in and out quite a bit, right? And so I assume you're hearing the zipper opening and closing throughout the whole
Yes.
seance. Yeah. And we're supposed to believe that that is spirit materializing a hand or something, some kind of ectoplasm to open and shut the zipper. But what I think is interesting about that, and about much of the phenomena and the explanations that you can read on his Circle Leaders Facebook page, is that that is all done by ectoplasm, right? Supposedly, this ectoplasm is being exuded from his
Yeah.
body, and spirit is taking up that energy and influencing it in the way that they need to. And so
Yes.
she's claimed in her seance report that the energy was so low because there were negative sitters in the room that spirit couldn't use ectoplasm that night.
Yeah.
And I will post a copy of her seance report. Did you get to read that?
Well, I didn't read the full report actually,
That's
yes, but I
okay.
got it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
will
there
tell.
was actually ectoplasm. I mean, he showed white and black
Yeah,
ectoplasm, so that's not true. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, not real ectoplasm, but yes, there were
Sure,
times throughout
but
the
the,
seance
yeah.
where you were told this is ectoplasm. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I mean, it was, yeah, of course we understand each other. I don't say it was real ectoplasm, but
mhm,
when she says it wasn't possible to produce ectoplasm, I mean, he did a part with just ectoplasm. Yeah.
yeah. So she's kind of trying to paint the picture that there's many different techniques and options that spirit will use based on the energy, and that spirit comes out at the beginning of the seance, assesses everyone's energy, and then from there, it's kind of like up to the sitter's energy what spirit will be able to do. And so, we've
Yes.
got the zipper opening and closing, which is supposed to signify that something's coming out of the cabinet. Um, and do you remember, because I can hear from the footage, that there's a point where the circle leader asks Jimmy, the spirit guide, why do we hear the zippers? Do you remember that?
Not really.
Okay.
What was his answer then?
And this part is in English, and that's why I can hear it. So maybe you were
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
waiting for the translation. But
Yes.
she says, Jimmy, why do we need to hear the zippers? And he answers back in English, which is also interesting that he can't speak the language of the sitters in the room, but whatever. Um, he says, you hear the zipper. I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but essentially, you'll hear it because that's just spirit's way of notifying everyone in the room that something is about to happen.
Okay.
So
Yes.
just like pay attention, get ready. We heard the zipper, something's going to happen.
Yes.
At no time did he say, well, you hear the zipper because we're using the medium's form in this particular seance because the energy is low, right? That would have
Yes.
been his opportunity to say,
Sure.
hey guys, today you hear the zipper because it's actually him coming in and out. But he
Yes.
didn't take that opportunity. And I think that's a point that we really need to pay attention to, because he
Yeah.
just said we're taking energy in and out of the cabinet. He could have expanded if we are to really believe it's him coming out, don't you think?
Sure. I think, yeah, I think that's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we have the zippers. We have this claim that on one hand, the energy is too low and we have to resort to using the medium's body. But that explanation comes much later in the seance when we see him come out and do a supposed healing on two women that are standing with their backs to the tent.
That's right.
So right before, and I really just want to make sure I ask you as many questions as I can, right before he came out, and when those sitters were asked to come and stand with their backs to the tent, did any of the spirit guides or circle leader announce, we are about to take the medium out of the tent?
No,
Okay.
no. That was
And
all later. The question asked about this and his answer or Ginny's answer, that was later, yeah, after
mhm.
leaving.
Yeah, so people are invited to come up and have a healing. He comes out. We see in the footage that he's touching one woman, then he moves to another woman, and then he goes back in the tent.
Yeah.
And then somebody asks, a different sitter, because it sounds like it's a man that asks, who did the healings just now? Like, who was that? Because it's
Yes.
in the dark. No one can see that happening. And that's when the explanation of, well, it was Abraham and Abraham's team, essentially. Again,
Yes.
I'm paraphrasing, but and in this case, we use the medium's form, and
Yes.
that's the audio that he plays in his video, claiming,
That's right.
yeah. So at the very beginning, he's claiming that audio came from the very beginning of the seance, because he says in his video that just before you see me come out of the cabinet, and then he plays this audio. So, Arthur, like, how much more do we need to say? That we see him out, he's switching up the timeline of events here in his video, claiming that he's legit.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any question in your mind, as someone who was there, that he's legit? Like,
No. No, there's no question for me, but that's just my opinion. Yeah. No. I
I mean,
mean,
it's not even opinion at this point, because we have footage, right?
yeah.
The footage is
We have
proof.
enough footage. Yes, I mean, that's right. It's not
Yeah.
just my opinion, you're right. It's real evidence, and this would be enough
Yeah.
in a trial situation, just an imaginary trial situation. This would be enough evidence.
hmm Before the seance started, did they say anything about cameras or filming? Was there any
Yeah,
protocol?
of course you're not allowed to have any cameras in there. That's before we entered, or in the pre-show in the
hmm
pre-show talk, that we are not
Okay.
allowed to have any electronical devices, no cameras. I'm not really sure if they say cameras, but of course no electronical devices, no metal, and no shiny things. And we were also searched on our bodies, each person, and we were also searched with a how do you call it? This
Metal
uh,
detector.
metal detector. That's right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I understand that he was searched as well. And some
Yes,
people,
I wasn't. So one of these three persons, uh, he could search him alone, and how I understood him is that this medium took off all the clothes besides the underwear, and he told him, "Do you really think I should take this now away, this underwear? Do you really want to see under it?" It was a little bit like a suggestion. No, you don't really want to see it, and he just well, this friend of mine, he said that the proportions of what he could see in his underwear were pretty large
okay,
compared to what he used to see
okay,
from other gentlemen. So that was his comment. But we were actually we were not there to be scientifically and or to be in a violent way, like going, yes, you need to put all the clothes now away, and we will check every hole of your body, and we will do it scientifically. We were trying to be, and we really are pretty friendly, and that was our way of being there, because of course we wanted to film and not reacting like magicians and bad scientists. But
hmm
of course, they were alarmed that I'm a magician, and they called me before. They knew I was a magician, but they Googled me. Uh, so they seemed to Google each person, and I don't think that was scary but maybe he was involved. I don't know. But they Googled me, they called me, the organizers, and we had a longer talk.
They called you before the seance.
Yeah, I was on the way and they called me. They really wanted to know why I'm there, what's my purpose, yeah, what's uh, how do I see these kind of things, these sittings, what's my background story? And yeah, so I
Oh.
just gave my background story and that was fine. Of course, I didn't say I had a camera with me. Yes.
Okay. I
Well,
didn't
they
know that
also asked the spirit world if it's okay if I'm there, and it
Oh.
was okay.
So they asked the spirit world, is Arthur okay to have in a seance? And the spirit world said
Yes,
yes.
yes,
Okay, interesting. Fascinating. So they Googled you. Wow.
sure.
Um, because they didn't know who you were. And he already knew that going to Switzerland was risky because prior to that, the photos were released of William that still nobody has addressed. So
Yes,
we have to make sure we stick to that too. I'm sure you've seen
I
them.
think this is a very good evidence.
Yeah.
This William
Yeah.
mask,
Yeah. And so
for
he was searched. The man who searched him down to his underwear felt like, nah, I don't really want to see in there. I mean, I guess on one hand, it's too bad that he wasn't completely searched. On the other hand,
yes, of course,
it is what it is.
yes,
And so, but I would like to point out William did not show up in this
yes.
seance, correct?
So he knew that he's going to be searched. So the organizer, she told him in advance that three men will search the room, will search him. Um, so he was, of course, alarmed not to take bigger stuff with him.
Okay. So he knew ahead of time.
Yeah,
Okay.
he knew.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, so no William, which I think explains itself. So was there a point when Spirit announced that they were struggling to do the phenomena? Is that just they when they gave the explanation that they were using his form? I think that's the only time that they
I
announced
think
they're
so.
struggling.
Yes, I don't remember another part, but maybe there was but I don't remember any other
Okay.
part now.
And so, what was the general kind of vibe of the seance? Was it apparent to you that it was, I mean, I know this was your first seance with him, but were other sitters sort of commenting, the energy is hard tonight, or this isn't how it usually goes? Was there anything that anyone
No,
said? Okay.
no, I think it was a very good energy. I mean, also the three of us, or I can talk for myself. I was pretty much into it and making comments and singing and laughing, and everybody was actually giving their best most of the time. And also the circle leader, she was sometimes commenting, "Come on, have a laugh," or whatever, saying. And I think we all did. Really, it was a good vibration. I think it was a nice atmosphere. I don't think there was any problem, yes, with the
Okay.
atmosphere.
Okay,
That's my
so
opinion. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, of course, there are three of you with intentions to catch him. So
Sure.
kind
Yeah.
of behind the way that you were presenting yourselves, of course, that intention is there. But the rest of the sitters, there wasn't anyone who was like
Yes.
disruptive or skeptical
No.
or
No.
negative or anything like that. Okay.
There was
And no,
nobody. Nobody was
yeah.
negative from the other sitters, and no, it was a good atmosphere. Yeah.
Okay. And so no one was commenting that it seemed
No.
like an off night.
No.
Okay. Okay. And when you watch the footage, does it look like someone who's in a trance to you?
No.
Yeah. I mean, he's
I mean,
laughing.
also when Jimmy was talking, it was just his voice. I don't think he. Yeah, I saw better. I saw better shows. I saw better seances. You
Yeah.
know, so he didn't try to sound different. I didn't think it was good acting. I mean, if you're talking now about acting skills, which we propose, I don't think it was good acting. So, and he wasn't in a trance, I think. Yeah, no,
hmm And at certain points in the footage, you can see that there are sitters coming up to the tent, opening the tent, and checking that he is still in the cable ties around
yes,
his wrists. Now, I think the purpose of this is always to prove that he hasn't gotten out of the chair, right?
sure,
And then the explanation that matter through matter is a possibility, and that if spirit wants him out, they'll just take him through the zip ties and then put him back in, right? That's
yeah,
the story we're supposed to believe. But given that he's claiming that everyone was notified that he was going to be out of the cabinet and out of the zip ties, don't you think it's kind of silly that so much of the seance is people coming up to check that he's still in the zip ties? And don't you think it's kind of silly that they even needed to take him in and out so many times? What are your thoughts on that?
yeah. I just think this really sells the seance. When the medium is tied, this sells the fact that he can't do these phenomena to the sitters, to the yeah. That's I think that's the whole meat of the seance, to sell this part, the magical part. And yeah, people like to see stuff happening, and matter to matter is one of these things. They are fascinated, or we are fascinated to witness, to see, and to imagine this in the darkness. Yes, I think this is part of the show, you know.
hmm I mean, it's part of the psychological
Yes,
manipulation that, look, he's still in the chair, he's still in the zip ties, none of this was him. And so, I mean, again, it's obvious when you take a step back. I just think it's such a shame that Spirit would be so set on proving it wasn't him, that they're spending so much time in a seance, having people come up, touch him, turn the light on, turn the light off, shut the tent, open the
yes,
tent. Look, it's around his wrist. Now it isn't. Now it is. All of that is just like, so what? What about evidence of our loved ones? What about,
yes,
I mean, why would Spirit think we need that over and over again when they could be working on a million other things that would help us
sure,
to know it's our loved ones? So, was
yes,
there ever
sure.
a time when you felt one of your loved ones or you witnessed somebody else in that seance
No,
receive? Okay, nothing.
no.
Okay.
Well, of course, my antennas weren't so much open now to the spirit world, and I think it's a fascinating theme. So I was in another sales from another medium where it was totally. I was actually called as a magician, or they knew I'm a magician. That was another sales with another medium, and they told me to check everything and to give my comments, and I was pretty open then. And I just saw that or realized the whole sales was also a fraud. And it was interesting to talk to the people afterwards because they could sense and see all these loved ones. And I'm pretty sure, and I think, and also what I sense sometimes in these physical sales is, of course, there are loved ones on these physical sales because you're gathering, you're creating a group energy, you're thinking about your loved ones from the other side. Of course, they will come, they will join. I think this is quite possible as well. And yeah, it gets a little bit of blurred reality of maybe a magic show and some aspects of a real seance, you know. I don't think this is a, how do you say, contradiction?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's difficult to say in English, but I think you know what I mean, you know.
absolutely.
But I don't saw any evidence of real contacts there.
Okay. I think you're totally right. And that's kind of what I've been saying is when else do you take 15, 20, 30 people and sit in darkness and hold hands and sing and ask your loved ones to come close? We don't do that
True.
really any other time. So I
Yes.
think spirit is always going to take that opportunity, but it's us, right? It's the sitters, it's just
Yes.
the
It's
people
a
in the
sitters.
circle. Yeah.
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah, that there is no chosen one in a cabinet or
No.
in a tent zip tied to
No.
a chair that is responsible for spirit coming if they do
That's
come.
right.
So, yeah, that is what makes it hard for people is, well, I felt my loved ones. But we have to remind people that the point of physical mediumship is not for each person to be having their own individual experience, because you can do that anywhere.
That's
It's
right.
so that spirit can show everybody, so that everyone in the room can say, we all saw it, right? And so I think with this person, the only thing that everyone is saying we all saw is something like the hand that comes out, the slimy
Yes.
hand. I think there were only 3 people that went up to touch the hand in this
Yeah, I
case.
was one of them. I
You
was
were
one of
one of
them.
them.
Yes.
Tell me all about your hand experience, please.
Yeah, it was a hand and an arm, and it was slimy. It wasn't a really nice experience. And it was the form was his hand, so zip tie went open, his hand and arm came out, and there was slimy part around it, or just, yeah, it was slimy around it, like a fluid. So I think you just have a little ball with some fluid wherever you want to have this little ball, you open it, put it around your arm, and that's it.
Okay.
It could be just, I mean, it could be just his sweat. He's sweating really, really heavy in this tent with his clothing. It could be just sweat and saliva, but I don't hope it's just sweat and saliva, but it could feel the same, you know. But I think he has had something else, some fluid hidden somewhere. But the size of the arm and the hand was a normal size of a male hand. And I think the story was supposed to be from a loved one, I think.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, the touch of the when you touch the hand and the arm, it feels just normal, nothing special, you know, just a
Hmm.
normal hand and a
So you
normal
were
arm.
able, and okay. And was this in red light?
Yes,
Okay. And so had you studied his arm and hand before, or, when you went up, you're saying
yes.
you recognized his hand,
I
right?
recognized it. But of course, in the red light, it's pretty dim light. I mean, cannot really say for 100% sure it is, but it looked like his hand and his arm. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you after seeing it 50 times in 2 days, it's his hand. Um, I was very close,
Yes.
and in that seance again, just to remind people, he didn't have his own red light, so he was using a different medium's red light, and
Okay.
so I kind of wonder if he knew how bright that light was, because it was
Yeah.
bright, like it
Okay.
was, and when you're super close, you know, you would think he would bring his own light so that he knows what he's working with.
Yes. So
But
this time it was his own light, or the light
okay.
of the circle leader.
Yeah. Okay. And so I understand that another person who went up to touch the hand, or was this you? Who was it that asked the hand if it was their father? That was a
Oh yeah, that
different
was one
person, right?
of my friends.
Okay.
Yes.
So your friend asked when he went up to touch the hand,
Yes.
"Is this my father?" And the
Yes.
hand, what did the hand do?
I think, yeah, I don't really remember, but I think he said it was like an agreement, some kind of agreement from the hand, but I don't really remember this part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What I'm told is that somebody went up to touch the hand,
Yes.
asked if it was their father. The hand
Yes.
responded in a way that seemed to agree and say yes. And then, but that person's father is not in spirit. Is that the story?
That I think that's the story. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the person went up and said, "Dad?" And the hand was like, "Yes." And
That's
so,
right. Yes.
and
That's right.
I've, to kind of clarify how that looks, I've seen this where the hand is out, someone walks up to touch it, it's slimy. So you have to kind of get over the psychological situation of like, this is weird. And then the emotions come, right? Because you're expecting it to be spirit, you're expecting this to be a beautiful, magical experience, which is what I did the first time I touched it before all of this. And then you see, I've witnessed people say, like, "Is that you?" You know, they'll say a name, and the hand will kind of like jiggle or vibrate or like shake, up and down for yes kind of thing. So I
Yes.
think that's the way it's communicating, which is interesting because you never hear anyone speak. You never hear Jimmy speak. You never hear any of the guides speak when the hand is out. So everything is relying on the communication of this hand shaking yes
Yes.
or no. I understand that 3 people touched the hand in your seance that you went to, and they all felt it was his hand.
Yes.
Okay. So clearly, after the seance, you had conversations with these people. People got together and talked about their experiences.
Yes.
Okay. I tell you, it's just like, how much more do we need to say, right? Um, so there's also another story that after this particular seance, at the very end, I've been told, and I've also read from his Circle Leaders Facebook page, that the ectoplasm that apparently wasn't used, but was used, but wasn't, but it was, came back in too quick, and he felt like he was having a heart attack. So at the end of the seance, when it was over, did he announce that? Did he appear to be struggling? Did he say, "I feel like I'm having a heart attack"?
Well, I couldn't hear something like he had a heart attack. He was asking for water. He was um, having a little bit problems with his throat. But I mean, I don't think I saw any seance where this didn't happen. So normally this is happen normally with most of the mediums I saw at the ends. No, I don't remember anything like a heart attack. And he felt, I mean, he walked around normally afterwards. So like 1, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, having time for him, drinking water. We went out, he came out, and he was pretty fine, he looked fine and he
Okay.
felt fine. Yeah.
Okay. So there was no talk from his circle leader saying that was a rough night. He's
No.
really struggling more than he usually does. Okay. Because usually when he supposedly is coming back, he does like a choking thing, which is supposed to be
Yes.
the ectoplasm.
Yes.
Um,
That's
but
what
it,
he did, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's normal.
I
But
think that
they're
was the normal case, and
okay,
I don't remember other things. Yeah.
okay, okay. So no one said this was a tough night.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, interesting. Because that claim that he almost had a heart attack came after, right? It
Yes.
came after the footage was released.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, it just keeps getting more twisted, doesn't it?
Sure.
Another question I want to ask you, back to the hand. I'm just remembering when it came in and out to, for each person, in between when the hand went back in, did you hear that suction sound? That like sound?
Yes, there
Okay.
was a sound coming. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's
Hmm.
supposed to indicate that ectoplasm
Goes
was being
back.
used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
that
that
was a
it's like
funny
going,
sound. Yes.
okay. Just to, again, because they have multiple explanations for how the hand phenomena is created. Either it's ectoplasm and photoplasm, or if that's not possible, it's his arm and they're working with the perception of the sitter. But I find that ridiculous because each time, regardless of what they say is happening, you hear that suction sound, which is supposed to indicate ectoplasm.
Yes.
So if
Sure.
it's just playing with the perception of the sitter, why would they make that sound? Why would we hear
Yes.
that? So again, there's a lot of inconsistencies in their stories, and it's
Yes.
good to hear from you that that sound was present.
That was
Therefore,
present. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Okay. So that's another place where they're claiming, the energy was good because she has said in her seance report that if the energy is low, they're not going to use ectoplasm because that's dangerous because the
Yes.
medium could be injured. And so I don't know if they're trying to say like there were certain times when there was ectoplasm, certain times when there wasn't, but it's getting pretty messy, I think, on their end.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, what else did you witness? What else do you want to tell me? Tell me everything that I have missed. Is there anything coming to
Yeah,
mind?
there was of course the tent that so he was in the tent, tightened to the chair, and then you could see in the that the tent goes over his head, and then in the dark it goes back over his body. And of
Mhm.
course, you can see it in the video that he uses his head to put the tent back. But you can also see in the video how he makes the tent going over his head. You can see it also on the scientific side of oh, the names. What's the name of the guy who
Cruz, Eckhart
Kruse?
Cruz.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Eckhart Kruse. You can see it there also in red light filmed how he stays tied to the chair, but his mouth goes to one side of the tent, and with his mouth, he's pulling the tent over his head. I mean, you can see it really clearly on this video of Eka Cruz as well, and you can see it in this red light or in this infrared video we took as well. You can see he's using his head to move the tent over his head and back.
Hmm.
And this is clearly him, you know. This is no spirit. This is no ectoplasm. This is his mouth taking the tent and putting it behind. So this is also really good evidence of he faking it.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the best parts because so many people want to say he's been scientifically tested. I mean, I've covered this so many times in the podcast. Chris has addressed this as well. And when you watch the videos of his scientific testing, that is one of the tricks that he's doing. And so
Yes.
in your seance, when I watch the footage, the light is off. I think someone checks that he's still in the zip ties in the light. The light
Yes.
is turned off. And then of course, I'm sure you could hear the tent moving, but it's in the dark, that the tent is now tipped off and laying on the floor
Yes.
beside him.
Was it in the
And
dark? Yes.
yes,
Okay.
and then the light comes back on,
Yeah.
and everyone sees him just sitting there with the tent on the floor. And then the
Yeah.
light is switched off, and that's when we see him kind of scooch over with his head in his chair, reach for the tent with his mouth, and pull it back over himself. And then the light comes back on, and oh wow, there's no way it could have been him because we just saw him zip tied to the chair. And so it must have been spirit. That's what's supposed to be going on there. And that's what in the scientific study, that's one of the tricks that they apparently studied. But I think it's fascinating that in that study, they don't show how the tent was put back. They just show that the tent is moving and spinning, and we don't see it get put back over him. And
Yeah.
Michael Mayo is the one who said, even before, back in 2014, he's just using his mouth.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so for us to finally have this video proof that it's him using his
Yeah.
mouth,
Yeah.
it's so great because it's like it's another told you so moment of,
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's just him.
Sure.
So yeah, for anyone who wants to stand by the scientific study, please watch this. Watch this footage too, because it shows how it's being put back. So in the footage, we see that there's a camera and it has to be taken in and out of the person's clothing. So there's a
Yes.
lot of footage where it's kind of like you can see that it's just the person's shirt or whatever. Why is that? Why did the camera have to be taken in and out like that?
Yeah. Of course, we had the luck to sit together, the three of us, so we could free our hands and take the camera in and out. But sometimes we had to be safe when the red light went on. We had to maybe place the camera away, taking the hands of each other again, so there was no suspicion. But I mean, all the focus was on the medium. It was just dim red light. I think nobody would have seen if he would just having the camera there the whole time and not holding the hands. But this is just the safer part to sometimes put the camera back or away, lay it down, hold hands again when the red light comes on. So I think that was the reason. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just for when the light is switched on in case someone glanced over and saw this device. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure for the three of you it was probably something you really wanted to get right because it's not very often you have an opportunity to film something like this. So
Yes.
I can appreciate wanting to hide the camera as much as possible during those periods. And I just want to say well done, the three of you, for being brave and for getting this because it's been a long time coming. I can't believe that no one has done this since 2016, but sometimes things have to go through a cycle and a phase. And yeah, now we have the footage
Sure.
we need. So is there anything else you want to mention from that seance? Anything else that you witnessed? Any kind of talk on the psychological tactics that he's using as a mentalist? What's coming to
Yeah, I mean, as a hypnotherapist and mentalist, I'm intrigued about what's happening psychologically. Of course, you're sitting there in the dark and the perception gets blurred. It's getting biased in many ways. You're entering, I mean, everybody's entering some kind of trance states. So it's really interesting what you can do in darkness and in this dim red light and with all the suggestions the medium gives in the pre-talk and also what's happening with you as a believer in a philosophy or in a spirituality or in a religion or when you believe in a in a guru or in a medium. And there are certain things happening, and you really can't imagine that your perception gets so biased that you can't see that he is not the real thing or she is not the real thing. It's really interesting what's going on, especially with spiritual people. I think the more open you are, you're also more open to fraud. And I'm not saying you should not be open. Of course, you need to be open to get things done. You know that phenomena will happen. You really need to put your mind a little bit away, and but this opens so much space for suggestion and trance states and biases, which many spiritual people can't believe that they are so biased when they witness frauds. They think they can sense it with their heart, they can sense it with the solar plexus, with their third eye, and whatever. But I think there are so many filters and layers building up, and that's really interesting, you know, and it's well documented with other mediums. It's well documented with, and I'm not saying every medium, of course, is a fraud, and that's not what I'm trying to say, but it's just interesting what happens with fraudulent mediums or fraudulent gurus. There's also this old tradition in India. As a guru, you first you show a trick, you make a manifestation of vibhuti or a gold necklace, or you make a telepathy trick, and then comes the spiritual teaching. And so when the trick happens, it's people get so much opened up, and they lose any analytical thinking, because that's spirit or that's God who's manifesting. And it's just interesting what happens with people, you know. I think this is really fascinating, and also not only fascinating but also dangerous. We need to. I think it's important to have both sides, the skeptical part and also, or the analytical part and also the open part. And of course, sometimes you just need to be open, but before or afterwards, you can put on your mind again, and your analytical mind back on to think about what you've seen and what happened. And this is not wrong. I think this is important for us as people to move on and to see the world more transparent. And it's not an easy world to see everything transparent. We live in a special time and special world in a way. Not everything is transparent and not everything is objective. Yeah, but I'm fascinated about these psychological aspects of the human psyche.
Absolutely. So am I. And I can use my own self as an example of somebody who was very skeptical. I mean, of course I've read the books, and as a medium, eventually you're going to come across the Victorian seances, the ectoplasm, all of those stories from the past. And I had already been reading about it. I had been to a transfiguration demonstration years before joining the physical mediumship community. But right before I went to my first seance, when I was at a conference in Lilydale, I was like, there's no way that these people are actually doing this. I remember the moment that I was like, okay, I just need to go see for myself. And as soon as the lights went out,
Yes.
as soon as we started singing, I got emotional. And this was with a different so-called physical medium. But I remember the moment where I went from being very skeptical, especially having spent time with this person ahead of time, and he was talking about apports and talking about apporting a hamster through his belly button and a live snake. He said he apported a live snake through his belly button, like crazy things that before I sat in the dark holding hands with 30 other people singing songs, I thought, this guy's crazy. But as soon as those lights went out and we started singing, and for me, generally, just singing makes me emotional, right?
Yeah,
I
sure.
am a very emotional person. I cry over
Yes.
everything because that's just who I am. And so as soon as the lights went out, I remember this sort of energy washing over me that I kind of went from skeptical to sensing something magical,
Yeah.
something unexplained. And it felt like spirit. As a medium, a professional medium for 9 years, I know what spirit feels like. And we were
Yes.
calling spirit in. We did a prayer. Like all of those
Yes.
things bring a reverence and a love that we don't otherwise tap into, right? And then the very first trick that I saw, other than trumpets banging, which I couldn't see, I could just hear right beside me, was
Yes.
glow in the dark balls that were placed on a kitchen chair in the middle of the room, and all of them lifted up at once. And so I was like, there's no way, that's not possible that a person is lifting them up. But now I'm pretty sure he was just lifting up the back of the chair and was able to balance all of the balls on the chair. And then all of the balls flung in different directions. And
Yeah.
it didn't look to me like there was a finger flinging them. And that was really all it took for the most part to convince me. So
Yeah.
isn't that like when you talk about how interesting it is to become kind of programmed when we're open, when we're seeing a magic trick, but we're being given already an explanation that it is spirit.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of easy, isn't it?
It's dangerously easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is what
Yes.
you do. I mean, I've seen some of your YouTube videos where you're on a stage doing magic tricks in the light. So it shows that you have some skill with this. There's quite a large audience in some of your events. So,
Yes.
I want people to understand that you are somebody who knows how this is done. Like you do it yourself. So, yeah.
Yes, I also do seance shows themed of the Victorian age of the seances, and it's really fun, and it's a fascinating subject for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did the hosts of this seance contact you or all of the sitters to let them know that footage was going to be released?
Yes. Yes. So
Okay.
some days ago, or a week ago, they contacted per email all the sitters that they were filmed and they could, uh, if they like, they can decide to make further steps to, yeah, I don't know in English, but yeah, go with the law against us
Okay.
and
To sue
yes,
you, essentially,
suit
for,
you. Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
to sue.
Thank you.
Okay. What was there any mention of a refund or anything
No,
like
no.
that? Okay. And did the circle leader admit, like, did she say he was caught faking, or did she have her own explanation for what is seen in the footage? Was there any address?
No, it was just 2 or 3 lines. She didn't went into what was filmed and what was shown in the film, and there was no link, of course, to the film. It was just the information they were filmed.
Okay.
And as far as I'm informed, she's still pretty sure that he's the real thing, and he's becoming better. And William will show more of himself, further seances, and yes.
Okay. So the hosts
The
have not
host,
accepted
hosts, yeah, yeah.
truth. Okay. Okay.
As far as
Uh,
I know, until now, they didn't accept any proof of fraud. Yeah.
okay. I mean, I guess if they did, they would have to give everyone their money back. So I can see why,
Yeah, so
why
I mean,
people.
it's the difficult situation when you're hosting these things since years or many times. I don't know. It's also from another part in Switzerland where they're doing physical seances since years. I was there, and telling the hosts, listen, that's my opinion. You wanted to ask me of my opinion openly. You wanted to give my open opinion to all the sitters, and here is my opinion. This is my mail. I list everything in this mail or in this document how I think it was done, and he was a good friend of mine. He was the head of this hosting place, and he said, "Well, I see it differently, but most importantly, I don't want to inform other people because I want all these physical mediums to come here, to be here, not to be afraid of any accusations of fraud, and I will not give your opinion further to the sitters of the cells. I will keep it for myself, and that's it."
Okay.
So, of course, that's business. Of course, that's money, and I can understand it a little bit. But I don't think this is parapsychological science, and he called himself like a parapsychologist, and I don't think this is scientific approach, but I can understand it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've come across a lot, is that it's presented as we are doing experiments, we're studying this, we're trying to allow spirit to do incredible things, and we're documenting it, and we're keeping track of what happens when, there's seance reports, and even as a developing medium, I was taught each sitting have someone take detailed notes so you can refer to them. But it's, again, that's one of those pieces of psychological manipulation that we're
Yes.
told this is what's happening. This is the where things are advancing, and we're documenting everything. And then when you actually go and pay attention, it seems like people are doing the opposite. It seems as though they're just wanting to sit in the dark and be entertained. And
Sure.
and things are not being measured or tested or in a way that proves anything. So, yeah, follow the money, Arthur. Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Normally, the spirit world, of course, is giving the opportunity to test, or giving the circumstances how the testing will be. And normally, it's good to say, well, next time it's going to be better. We can use more red light. And so it's never the scientist, or it's never the sitter who can define the next steps for scientific research. It's always the spirit world, aka the medium.
Yeah.
In the physical seances I witnessed until now.
Yeah. All of the protocols, all of the experiments are first directed by the so-called spirit team, which, that's another one of the ways that they always have the final say. So, Arthur, I really appreciate your time, and
thank you for having me.
yeah,
And
well done. Seriously, it just made my day. It made my year, knowing that this footage was finally captured. And I knew about it a few weeks before, and I was told to just hold on and be quiet. And I just prayed every day that you were successful, and you were. So
I think transparency is important in these fields. It's important for us as a humanity, transparency, to go further on. So I think it's important. It's not that I want to harm everybody or anybody. But when I heard all the stories he did with other people, and how he did harm other people with his fraudulent behaviors, I thought it's good to have this transparency, to make the movie, although I'm not sure if this will really stop him. So normally this doesn't stop any medium. But maybe he will choose another path, which is better for him and humanity. And let's see what will happen. Sorry again for my bad English. I couldn't always find all the words. I tried to, but it was fun talking to you. And good luck with all your stuff.
Thank you. You
Thank you,
did just
Jeni.
fine. Thank you so much. Okay, there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it has helped to clear up any of the questions you may have had about some of the explanations we've been given, such as using the medium's form. The footage speaks for itself. The audio is intact with the footage, so please go to the website that I will link in the show notes to watch all of the clips that we released in the order they were released, and then to watch the full seance footage in 2 parts. It's all there. Nothing has been edited, nothing has been changed, other than Chris worked very hard to blur the faces of the sitters to respect their privacy. And that's the only thing that's been changed. I've heard a rumor that they're trying to claim that this footage was made with AI. So I don't know how that would have been done, because there's a lot of super specific stuff that happened in that seance that, I mean, come on, guys. It's not AI. It's accurate, real footage of the seance in Bern, Switzerland on August 13th, 2024. So I hope that these episodes will be here for the future. When someone like me finds themselves in a physical mediumship seance with this person or any other physical medium that is working publicly today, I hope that they find these episodes and that website and the video footage from 2024 to match the footage from 2016 that will help them to know what they know in their heart, that perhaps they overlooked, dismissed, chose not to believe, because at the end of the day, who doesn't want to believe that their loved ones will come close no matter what? Who doesn't want to believe that Spirit is watching over us and attempting to work with us in ways that we can't even imagine? And that for over 100 years, mediums have been sitting in cabinets and materializing magical phenomena that can't be explained any other way. We all want to be part of history in the making. We want to have reverence for the mediums of the past, whether physical or mental. We love to read the books and the stories and to learn how spiritualism began, where modern mediumship has its roots all those years later with the Fox sisters and the wrappings on the wall. Unfortunately, many of the stories of the past match up to the stories of the present. And if only we had the internet, podcasts, websites, or even books from the past that could tell the other side of the story. Because I think it's easy to look back at those old photos of the ectoplasm and the materializations and see that it's just an act. A person with a sheet over their head, or strange images of cheesecloth coming out of someone's mouth. When I look back at those old photos, it's easier than ever to see that this story has been perpetuated for far too long. And that people like this know exactly what they are doing. And that this is how they make a living. Shame on you. Shame on every host that ignores the evidence and continues to profit. Shame on his circle leader for ignoring her friends and family who have been trying to warn her for more than 10 years. Shame on every single one of you that knows the truth and doesn't speak up to protect others.